Hello again and welcome back to the Painted Charge. Thank you for tuning in. And it might have seemed a while since I did one. Christmas has got in the way and I have been very busy doing painting and terrain and stuff, so that sort of got in the way of doing these, but it's now going to pay off, hopefully. So I did mention in my opening video that I made that I was working on a demonstration game project with a view to taking it to a show. Hopefully, because our club attends Partisan, and we usually do demo games at the other Partisan, which is the one in October. So I've done it once before. I did a Mortal Gods game, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and I had fantastic feedback from everyone that came and saw the game and commented on it. That was a skirmish game. This one is going to be a bit bigger than a skirmish game, and it's set, as you may see by the books behind it, in the Sudan, and it's actually going to be recreating the Battle of Tamai, which was fought by the British against the Dervish Hadendowa warriors, Beja tribesmen. So I'll start off. There's an array of books here and other things you can see. So this is going to be part one. There's the other videos that I do. The next video I do will be looking at some of the figures that I'm using and some of the figures I've actually already painted for this project. I'm going to run through tonight the books that I've got and that I've used as reference. I've done a plan for my terrain and the rules that I'm going to be using actually for the game, but we will come back to the rules later on in another video as well when they've got it set up, because we'll be playing the test game before taking it to any shows. So Tamai, and some people will say never heard of it, and some people will say why Tamai. And the reason is, when I was a teenager, I picked up this book second-hand from a second-hand store, and it looks a bit tatty, but that is just from years of use and reading. It is an excellent book. It covers a lot of the very well-known battles from the Victorian period, Alma, Ulundi. There's a heck of a lot of stuff in here. One of the battles that caught my eye, though, even back then, as I had an interest in colonial campaigns, is of course the Sudan campaign, and the Battle of Tamai is done in here. So it's a good book anyway. It's got, I'll just show you. I did have it. This is the joy of a map of the battle. And there's about 5 or 6 pages giving you an account of what went on, the outcome of the battle. As I say, there's a useful map there. It's very good, and some of the prints, you might see some of them up here. I've got one of the a print up here from it. So yeah, so read that through. Absolutely, must have read it a dozen times, and yeah, was inspired. But at the time, it was knowing the figures. There was still figures around way back then, but it was going to be metal figures. But with the advent of plastic figures, it makes it a little bit more doable nowadays because of the price of plastic figures being so what they are. So yeah, this was my inspirational book, and I'd love to do some of the other battles in here. I've always wanted to do the Alma from the Crimea. That would be a good one to do. But this is what kicked it off. I would say the other books that you see on here, the reference books, namely this book here by Henry Kean Boyd. This is also this gives you a good overview of the whole campaign from 1883 to 1899. So that not only includes the early Sudan, the Gordon Relief Column, the Southern Field Force and stuff like that. This covers the second Ardis War in 1899, which was executed by Herbert Kitchener, famously at On Demand. So that is a good reference book. Give you front to back cover of all the campaigns. By far the best two books I've got pertaining to Tamai are Going Strong into the Sudan by Lieutenant Colonel Mike Snook. Absolutely fantastic book. If you're interested in the Sudan campaign, you need to have this book. It's got colour photographs of the battlefields, fantastic battlefield maps. The troop positions are overlaid on the colour photographs. So Colonel Snook is absolutely fantastic book he's put together. There's colour plates in there of figures as well, of the uniforms and of the tribesmen. So that is if you're interested in colonial wars, you should have or should already have this in your arsenal of books. Another smaller, lesser known book, Fuzzy Wuzzy by Brian Robson. A lot of people I know are going to be a little bit iffy about calling them Fuzzy Wuzzies. I know that the Head and Dower tribes and Beja tribesmen, they have got tribal names, but this wasn't an insult to them. This was a term of endearment by the British soldiers. They admired these guys. These guys were terrifying tribesmen to fight against. They were very, very brave, and there is no nastiness meant by that. It's how they wore their hair, and these guys when they went fighting spent more time looking after their hair and looking pristine. That's what these guys are like. So they're superb warriors, and this book covers the Tamai quite well, and the operations out of Saukim, which was conducted by General Graham. So that is a very good book to get. You can still get hold of it, and it's a really good read. So having that for your research for doing any game, yeah, you should have. I would say have at least 3 or 4 good books. Go on the internet as well. There's loads of stuff on Google. You can find prints of the colour photo pictures of the uniforms on there. So that's always a really good source. I actually found somebody had been and visited Tamai battlefield more recently. Not Colonel Snook, another chap who works for the British government. He was out there and he took some photos of the actual battlefield, and it's amazing. It's just not changed in 120 odd years since the battle. Yeah, there's still ration cans knocking around on the battlefield and stuff. So yeah, always try and do your research. Next thing I had to do was find a set of rules which I was going to be using for playing this game. I have got a couple of sets of rules for this period, but one that stood out in particular was this set of rules by David Bickley, called A Good Dusting. And David Bickley used to put on games at the old Alan Welsh show over at Aldersley in Wolverhampton. He did. I saw him play a game with these rules, and he published a lot of good sets of rules. So yeah, this for me is what I'm going to use for doing this battle, because it can cope with a big battle, and they can cope with smaller battles, which will be ideal when I'm using this collection for playing at my War Games Club, which used to be War Games Society. If you haven't noticed, that's the badge there. So yeah, you need a set of rules, and this lot will do it. The other thing you may want to see, I don't want to go on too long, I don't want to bore you all, but you'll see these cards. Now, every war game, demo game that you put on, I would always say put a storyboard up, tell people what you are doing. So I've got a photo of General Graham here. I've managed to pick up this photograph of Osman Digna, and this was actually printed at the British chemist in Khartoum in 1920. So I was really pleased to get that one. And this picture of General Graham is taken from the Illustrated London News. So I picked that up off eBay. So, and things like maps. These pictures can go. All these pictures. A picture of the battle there, picture of the Royal Marines. More of them in the next instalment on this. So yeah, always think about a storyboard and stuff that you're going to put out to tell the public what you're doing and what it's about. And next, just briefly going to cover this. Draw out the sort of this is the design I've got for my display game, the board. Don't like square tables. Don't like things that are square. So I like to have lots of shape and interest in it. So I've sketched out to scale 2 foot squares. So it's not going to be a massive table, 8 foot by 6 foot for this game. And that's so we'll come back to that in a later video. Other things for the display. Well, I just thought to bring these out to show you anyway. This is a proper Wolseley helmet. It's not an eBay job. You can get these so-called copies on eBay with the 24th Regiment of Foot helmet badge slapped on the front of them. They're totally not the correct shape. This is made by Owen and Byers' son, who are incidentally who are based in Wrexham, and they got the original thing from the government to say, make us these helmets. They make equine helmets nowadays for horse riding, but back in Victorian times they made these. These are cork helmets, proper cork, correct shape, and these are made from the original mould. So you can still buy from them, but you're talking going on for about 300 quid now for one of these. So, but yeah, that'll be on the display table. And as in one of my other videos, I had a pointer. My pointer for this, when I'll be pointing stuff in the next video, it's a Martini Henry. This is original Martini Henry bayonet. It's from its saw service in Afghanistan in the Afghan wars. So that's an original. But probably wondering why I've got all this stuff. I used to be in the Die Hard company as doing Victorian reenacting. So that's the opening part 1 for this topic. There will be more videos. The next one, there'll be one video coming up on figures and one coming up on the terrain. I've already made some of the terrain for it, so I'll be sharing that. Yeah, so thank you very much for watching this far, if you're still watching. So, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.